Yeah, so I'm gonna talk about a little dream I had, and it was interesting. It was so my mother was in this dream, and I was in my father's old home in New Jersey, and I saw a car coming in, and it drove up on the lawn and parked up in the bushes on a hill, and that was my mom. She comes out, and I'm like, Where's she get a car from? Where's she doing?" She's like, "Hi, hi. Oh, I gotta go. I gotta say hi to your brother and sister who were apparently inside," and it was no surprise because that's how she would act in my experience with her. She dismisses my embrace and goes, "Oh, I just talked to your brother and sister who are kind of like not so warm towards her," and she goes off, and I'm like, "Oh, I better make sure this car's not going to roll." She parked in a weird spot, and I noticed it's got a manual transmission. I'm like, when did she learn to drive manual transmission? And to me, the interpretation of the dream is that there is a lot of unexplained, behaviors there, and it's because it's kind of like a simulacrum of a experience, of a family, of life. And my life was very kind of difficult. I had a ridiculously difficult time for the most mundane, simple things. For me, it was, not easy, and I was always like really frustrated the fact that even simple things were out of reach for no real reasons, and people would, out of their, what I would perceive as cruelty and negligence, make sure that things were like not well for me instead of like, it really costing them nothing. And even to this day, there's people who go out of their way to cause me injury. Like examples, like, I lost 100 jobs I've had. Getting fired from work is a standard, and there's people coming to my workplace to make sure that oh, gotta get this guy out of here. And it's such a clown circus, but it's so deliberate. And you see this in a wider span. You can look at things like human resources in general. Their protocol, they want to promote psychopathy in the workplace because that's for their paradigm. They want to have people who will just do what needs to be to consolidate power for the monetary system. There's no more like, actual work being done. They just want like, henchmen to kind of stand in place of, removing humanity from the earth. That's the workplace everywhere. I was just talking to a couple guys who got fired from a place where I got fired from, and I was the best employee there. And these guys were not the best, but they were next in line, and they got fired. And whom are they keeping? They're keeping the most like useless people who are just trouble. They're drama, and they're just problematic. And management says they were going to fire these people, but they're not firing them. They fired, I was first to go, and they fired these other guys. And so there's this like kind of strangeness about what they're doing, but it's even beyond this one place. I ran into a guy last week. He gave me his story was the same. So his story was that he's like, I think the management was intimidated by me, and I'm like, yeah, I know, probably. He's like, I would just try to work, and my coworkers were always looking to find some kind of drama, and before he could quit, he got fired. He was trying to get out of there, but even before he could quit, they fired him without any real reason. He said he thinks that the management was just intimidated by him because he was there as no nonsense guy, just there to work, not looking to, dominate or, just trying to do his job. And this is something that I see lots of people actually posting videos with the same story. So it's a phenomenon that's kind of going everywhere. So I even have experiences where I was working in these places where, like example, I was working at it with this like mafia waste collection place, and we were collecting cardboard, and I was I was the lifter for the driver, and it's kind of like they wanted me to do illegal cardboard confiscation. So we're just grabbing it where we're not supposed to be because they're selling the cardboard is what they're doing. We load up tons of this material, and they're kind of like stealing it a little bit, but like I'm like, I don't want to do anything illegal. What are you, you know, this my prior boss said, oh, I got a better job for you. You can do this and get paid a little bit more. And the fact that they wanted me to do something that's like criminal, it's a little strange that they wanted me to do this. And the guy I'm working with, he had a, you know, most of the people I was working with had like, you know, long felony lists. You know, they're killed many, probably like 50 people got killed by my coworkers. That's the kind of job it was. But the guy I was working with, he was kind of like a psychopath. He had like a lot of gun wounds. You know, he was not a pleasant guy to work with. He was ultra leftist liberal, and he didn't like anyone not Democrat. He thought was, you know, should be gone. He was not pleasant. And the fact of the matter, I'm just barely able to do my job with this guy because he's so violent. He's a dangerous guy. He's really violent. You know, he's a big guy. He's you know, armed, and he's always like exploding in anger. Very dangerous guy, you know. But I walked in on him once. He was he said, do you want lunch? And we had already gotten to an argument. I'm like, no, I'm not going to eat today. So he went in, and I just changed my mind. I'm like, I'll grab like, you know, a little pizza or something. And he was talking to the guy behind the counter, and his conversation wasn't normal. It was like about like this guy that, you know, he's referring to me. I know something that he doesn't want me to understand, and he's like, I'm making trouble for him. And in a way, like, what's he talking about? I'm just here to work. But he was referring to some other kind of like spiritual aesthetic. And the fact that he's referring to the spiritual effect, I kind of like, when he saw me, he kind of was surprised, and they changed the conversation really quickly. And the fact that they were, in my understanding, I forgot the exact words, it really looked like they were having a discussion about the artificial nature of what is actually happening. Now, that wasn't the only situation like that. So this is it's at the Home Depot. Very strange, like paranormal stuff was happening. And the fact that, you know, something had happened, like the little purchases I'm making were very strangely, you know, being sourced at this Home Depot. Like, why are my little purchases having such a strange effect with supply and, you know, availability? And there was some kind of strange conversation that one of the managers, I've never seen it before, was having. I forget the details. It's kind of like strange to bring that up, but it's in another case. This is kind of all happening at the same period of time. There was a bar I'd go to, and I knew the owner. He was this guy, and usually nobody comes in this place, and the owner's working all the time. He's like, you know, older guy, and we'd chit-chat about this and that. And essentially, he's a Democrat. He doesn't see things my way. He's not a Christian. He's kind of like a non-believing Catholic is what he is. He believes in like a satanic, you know, overship of the earth, and he doesn't believe in anything more than that. So to me, that's Catholic. He can, I think, take the title of Catholic. Not a believer of Christ, not a believer of Yahweh, but a Catholic, a believer of Satan. Pretty much that's what he was. But I'm in that bar. See, all of his patrons and most of his workers were hardcore Democrats. And a lot of these Democrats don't like anybody who's not a Democrat. They really don't. They're very nasty and very unfair, uncivil, and ill-minded towards non-Democrats. It's really how it is. And, you know, he's talking to one of his Democrat buddies, and it really seemed like the guy who was one of his buddies wasn't actually a patron. He seemed to be like somehow the overlord, and he wasn't really, you know, the owner wasn't really a bar owner. He was part of like some other kind of something going on. And he says, you know, he's talking about me. He goes, he doesn't get it, you know. I'm in hell right now, and he's in heaven. He doesn't get it. That he said that, to me, is like kind of evident of what's going on.